Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm riding solo today as Dan is taking a much needed break, spending some time with his family. So Dan, the Wiseman clan, hope you're having a wonderful time. Hope you're listening to the preview as well, because I've got some interesting nuggets ahead of Aston Villa versus Nottingham Forest, 3:00 on Saturday. Now you're probably thinking, Dan, why did you mention the time? Nottingham Forest have the lowest win percentage of any team in the Premier League for their 3:00 kickoffs, winning only 15% of them. That is 2 out of 15 games the Nottingham Forest have won at a 3:00 kickoff this season in the Premier League, which, makes you think that Aston Villa may have this one in the bag. It's an interesting time to actually play Nottingham Forest because they are sort of, the one eye is looking over the shoulder. They're sort of staring down the barrel of relegation. They're currently 17th in the league on 27 points, tied with Bournemouth, who are in the relegation zone in 18th, and with Everton and West Ham, who sit above them in 15th and 16th, respectively. And what's interesting is, obviously, over the past week, there was all this talk of, is Steve Cooper going to lose his job? Obviously, they lose to Leeds. It was a pretty competitive game. It's one of them, it really was a 6-pointer. It kind of dragged Leeds out of it just slightly. So again, that Nottingham Forest were absolutely in as well, by the way, but, if not for a Weston McKennie masterclass. And the owners have actually come out back to Steve Cooper. They've said, listen, Steve Cooper's not going anywhere. He's kept us up. He's taken us, he's taken Nottingham Forest from the relegation zone in the Championship all the way up to the Premier League. The trajectory that he has put Nottingham Forest on is actually quite frightening because he got them promoted in the year that he took over. So Steve Cooper deserves a lot of respect, a lot of credit, and a lot of time. With that being said, though, when the ownership comes out and says, this guy isn't going, it generally means he's probably got 2 weeks left in the job. For Nottingham Forest fans' sake, I hope that Steve Cooper's left at the helm. I do think he's a very good coach. Obviously won the Under-20s World Cup, I think it was, with England, and is generally known in the scene as being a very good tactician and man manager as well. Steve Cooper seems like a nice guy. So I genuinely hope that they do keep him. However, do I think that, that's going to affect this game? Not really, because Forest are in a bit of a bad place. And when you look at the results, it doesn't seem that long ago where they drew with Man City 1-1 at the City Ground. That was back in February. And since then, they've got beaten pretty convincingly away from home at West Ham, who found a little bit of form at the time, beating them 4-0. And since then, they've taken points off Everton. They've lost to Newcastle. They've taken points off Wolves as well, another fellow relegation candidate. And have sort of only lost games by a goal, and they have been fairly competitive. But I think one thing that has sort of let Forest down is the recruitment. Now, I'm not going to beat them with that because us Villa fans know coming up from the Championship, you have to spend money. And they spent 160 million. They needed a new entire squad. I just don't think a lot of the recruitment was spot on. They've made some fantastic signings. Philippe from Atletico Madrid, Keylor Navas on loan from PSG. They're the kind of signings that could well keep them up, and they'd be worth their weight in gold if, come May. Forest are still in the Premier League. However, there were some questionable decisions, but they do have some very dangerous players. Morgan Gibbs-White on his day can be a problem. Brennan Johnson is a player who has sort of been scoring in patches, looks like a very good young prospect, and could cause Villa some troubles. Now, interestingly, Unai Emery has actually never lost a Premier League game to a promoted side. He has played, I believe, so he's played 5 games against promoted sides. So he's played 5 games against promoted sides in the Premier League, winning 4 and drawing 1. And that draw actually came against Wolves in 2018. So Emery's got a good record against these sides. He knows that, a team like Nottingham Forest right now are going to be scrapping. They're going to be fighting for their lives. So it's going to be very important that we sort of remain composed, remain focused, because I think this game historically would have been a bit of a banana skin for Villa. I've spoken so many times about how it was sort of going against the big teams under Gerrard, under Dean Smith, and putting in a really good performance, but then sort of questioning whether there's an air of complacency against the sort of lower sides. And I'm using that in air quotes because I don't want to be disrespectful to Nottingham Forest whatsoever. But it's true, and I don't think that. I think we've sort of got that ironed out now, and I think the form that we've been in recently has been absolutely electric. And let me tell you, if Villa go on and win this game, then they would match the last time they won 3 consecutive home games was back in 2007, and in those 3 games we've actually managed to keep clean sheets in all of them as well. And in the 2 that we've won, in our last 2 home games, we've also managed to keep clean sheets. So a win and a clean sheet, and Villa are breaking another record, another hoodoo, which is what Don Unai ultimately has come in to do at Aston Villa. Now, we've got a very good record against Forest in recent games. I think that the last time we played Nottingham Forest at Villa Park, probably one of the most entertaining games of my lifetime. I know I'm only 23 years old, but a 5-5 against Nottingham Forest in the Championship in that promotion year was absolutely electric. What a game that was. Joe Lolly had the game of his life, played like a prime Lionel Messi, and you can't really hate him for it. He's a Villa fan, and he's sort of living out all of our dreams. He went a bit mad when he scored, but you would, wouldn't you, if you're playing at your church? And what a game that was. That's something that will sort of be burned in my mind forever. It was an absolutely fantastic evening, although frustrating we didn't win that, but entertainment value, top notch. Thankfully, we don't have too many games that are as frantic as that anymore. Villa seem to be more in control of games. And control is an interesting word because, sort of listening to Match of the Day and listening to TalkSport and all the pundits, when they do talk about Villa, because they haven't really been talking too much about Villa, which is not something I'm too bothered about, if I'm being completely honest. Let's fly under the radar. Anyway, I digress. One thing that the pundits have been saying is, Villa need to move the ball quicker and they need to do this and they need to do that. And, the sort of the idea that the game needs to be played at a really high pace and intensity, I think the top sides have shown sort of in recent years, and whether that sort of coincides in sort of declining players or whatever, Liverpool, Man City, they don't really play that really aggressive, really high press, high intensity football anymore. The game is obviously still played at a very quick pace, but it's intentional from Villa. We want to draw teams out. We want, when we have the ball from a goal kick, that lofted pass that Emmy's looking to play to Moreno or to Young and Cash, whoever is the right fullback, that is to, by playing that pass, you are immediately taking out a line of pressure, right? So you're buying more time. And by making that pass, then the second wave of pressure, the midfield, then has to come forward. You're creating space by doing this, right? So Villa just needs, if anything, slow down, keep slowing down, be patient, because the blueprint shows it's worked. We look so much more efficient under Emery because each player understands the passage of play to a T. And if you look at most of Villa's goals that we've scored recently, it's all kind of come from having the ball down the sort of the left back, left centre mid area, playing a long ball out over to whoever it may be, maybe Emmy, Leon, John, whoever, playing that into Ollie, and then he scored. He's getting on the end of something. So this idea that we need to be playing the ball quicker, we need to play it faster, it's a myth. It's nonsense. That's not how Unai Emery wants us to play. So ignore your fellow pundits on TV stations and radios on it saying that, because it's absolute nonsense. Patience is going to be key here, because Forest are going to be aggressive in a press. We know that from a Steve Cooper side. And as I highlighted before, with players like Brennan Johnson and Morgan Gibbs-White, they can be very dangerous in transition. So it's important we look after that ball. Now, obviously, last time we played Nottingham Forest under Steven Gerrard, God, such a long time ago now it feels. It was a 1-1 draw at the City Ground. Ashley Young scored the goal there. And it'd be great to see Ash score again for us, right? I don't know if he'll have the knees or have it within his legs to actually sort of play a full game here, playing 2 games so close back to back. But did you know that the last time Ashley Young scored against the same side twice in a season, it was against Wigan in the 2010-2011 season? And at 37 years old, he would be the oldest player to score against the same side twice in a season in both legs, overtaking Graham Alexander of Holte in the 2009-2010 season, who was 38, which is absolutely mental when you think about it. I'd love an Ashley Young goal. I don't think it will happen, but I would really like to see it. We proved against Leicester, we proved against Chelsea, we can be so dangerous in transition. And again, the lovely habit that we're developing now of scoring early goals has continued. Now, Villa have a league high total of goals scored within the opening 15 minutes of games this season, which is 9 goals. And that is 39% of all goals scored in the Premier League in the opening 15 minutes, which is pretty crazy. And we've opened the scoring in this time frame in 4 of our last 5 games at Villa Park. So if we score early, the numbers all point to the fact that Villa could go on and win this game now. It's fairly It's something that I'm fairly confident in saying because the numbers do back that up. Um, I really think that Villa can go. I think whilst the win against Chelsea is obviously special, and Bertie Traore scores an absolute screamer and getting the job that Leicester felt really big because again that could have been a banana skin. If Villa go on and win here, I think this is when teams start to take Villa seriously. Because as I said before, this would have presented itself as a banana skin. But I genuinely do think that Villa are going to come to Villa Park and it's going to be an utterly professional and disciplined performance. And we're going to ultimately get the job done against Nottingham Forest. I truly believe that. I do genuinely believe. It's the last time I've gone into games feeling this confident we'd win was the 10-game win run in the Championship. It's crazy the feeling that Unai has sort of given us as fans and genuinely feeling invincible supporting Aston Villa. All of my mates who support different teams think I'm absolutely crazy. And it's understandable because they are not seeing what we're seeing to the level that we're seeing it, right? And again, just to sort of reiterate the point I made earlier, I'm more than happy for us to go under the radar because if we can sneak up while we are the informed team in the league right now, if you exclude Manchester City and Arsenal, we can sneak up, bamboozle the likes of Brentford and Fulham, Brighton, and manage to sneak a Europa Conference League place, then I think we should start building the statue for Unai, to be honest, because when you consider where we were at when Steven Gerrard was at the helm, the points return, third in the Premier League since Unai came in, form, it's absolutely crazy. The fact that the turnaround has happened in such a short time, I just can't believe it. But, I'm becoming accustomed to it. I'm expecting Villa to win games now. I'm expecting us to continue the good habits of breaking bad records and setting great new ones like scoring early. So with all that being said, Villa are going to get the job done 3-0. You heard it here first. That's my prediction. I'd love to know your prediction in the comment section down below. I don't know if you guys are aware, you should be because I go on about it every episode. Dan was kind enough to make a link tree, has all the details for our Fantasy Football League, our TikTok and Instagram. TikTok is at Heart of the Holte. Instagram is at VillaFillaPod. Follow them, please, because a lot of work is going into the short form content. We want the Villa Filler to be everywhere and accessible for as many people as possible. That goes for you people listening on Spotify and Apple. If you are, make sure you follow, leave a rating, leave a review, all that kind of stuff. Favorite us, save us. It all helps. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification if you haven't, because that way you'll never miss an upload from us here at Heart of the Holte. Like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.